On today's show, the guys talk with Dr. Pronita Mehrotra, founder and CEO of MindAntix. Her take on cognitive creativity opens new doors to build creative thinking skills in children. We've got an East Initiative update, all of that and much more up next on EduTechGuys. You're listening to the EduTechGuys, EduTechGuys.com. Hello and welcome to EduTechGuys. I'm David Henderson.
Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
Yeah, welcome to the show. And we've got a really, really cool guest today. And it turns out it's her first time ever to do a podcast, so we're honored.
We're honored, and we'd be honored if you go out to the web and go to www.edutechguys.com, drop down to the bottom of the page and click the little button and fill out the information and tell us how wonderful we are.
Yes.
Also, you can catch us. You can catch us on the social medias, just at EduTechGuys. Or heck, I say it every week, and I'll say it again. Go out to Google, type in EduTechGuys, EduTechGuys, and you will find us out on the interwebs, staring back at you.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, and when you're over there at edutechguys.com and or checking out our social media, do us a favor and fill out our listener survey. We want to know what you like, what you'd like to see different, all that kind of good stuff. So be sure to fill that out. There'll be links in our social media and on the webpage, all that good stuff. So hit that up.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll tell you what, we're going to jump right into it today and just get right to the old goodness of the interviews. That sound good to you?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Here we go. We'll see you on the other side. Hey, welcome back to the EduTech Guys. We're really excited to have our next guest on the show. And we just found out this is her first podcast, so we're really excited about that for her. We're going to let her introduce herself and tell us who she is and what she does and all that kind of good stuff. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Pronita. I am the founder of a company called MindAntix. And what we are really trying to do is we're developing programs to build the 4 C's. And the 4 C's for us are creativity, critical thinking, community, and confidence. So building this creative and critical problem-solving skills, that's sort of core to what we do, right? So we want to give students like really concrete cognitive techniques or tools to stretch their ability to problem solve in interesting ways. And the idea is that by practicing some of these techniques and getting opportunity to practice some of these skills, any student can learn to be more creative than what they are. But then we also want to build the right kind of environment. So in our programs, what we also try to do is we give students and teachers a sort of a shared way to explore. It's like a shared experience. So so both teachers and students, they are exploring interesting and novel ways to solve a problem. They are helping each other. They are learning from each other. And all of that kind of builds a sense of community. And then there's also the confidence. Like as students, they solve some of the problems, and they're solving them in very interesting or novel ways, right, that they haven't seen. It's almost hard not to build some sense of confidence in them, right? It builds that confidence. It's like it's just being able to say, hey, I came up with that idea. That can be like really powerful and empowering. So in a nutshell, that's what we do.
That's really cool.
It's a mighty big nutshell.
Yeah. So what led you to this idea? What led you to the idea and the realization that this need existed and you needed to tackle this problem exactly?
Yeah, so I think if you look at what's happening around, like technology is changing really, really rapidly, right? And it's evolving. The workforce, the kinds of jobs, everything is changing really quickly. So if you look at how things are going, if you just take automation, right? Automation is taking away a lot of jobs that are more sort of linear, sequential or predictable kind of jobs, right? But what at the moment we can't really automate yet is sort of the ability to come up with novel, interesting solutions, right? Something that doesn't have any prior examples, right? So machines can't learn from that kind of stuff. So it really comes back to like the creative problem-solving abilities, right? So if we can teach students to be better creative problem solvers, where they can look at a problem, it's open-ended, ambiguous, or whatever, and they can find some interesting ways to solve it, like examples of which don't exist. And that's really going to make them successful. They're going to be able to thrive in this more technology-driven world. They're going to be able to face challenges better. So I think that's once you realize that, I think that became sort of a huge motivator for us. Like, we need to make students better creative problem solvers. It's not just about learning some facts. It's not about knowledge. We're kind of way past that stuff, right? I mean, just knowing stuff doesn't matter anymore. We have to be able to apply them, apply our knowledge, solve problems. So
we know that's really great that you said that. We talk to a lot of industry also in our jobs that we do. So we talk to a lot of industry, from welding to, just a basic, any type of production industry. And it's really interesting that creativity and critical thinking and community and confidence, those are actually the main things they're looking for, even in those jobs, because they need them to get along. They need them to have confidence to learn new stuff. They pretty much say, if you can do math and you can get along with people, we'll train you. And that's so this isn't just about technology. It's about just what our students and our kids are needing to work in the workforce in the 21st century.
That's absolutely right. I mean, we're moving into technology-driven world, but at the same time, the kind of skills we want to develop, it's not necessarily like tech skills in that sense, right? And so in some sense, we even tell a lot of teachers, that's one message, like, you don't have to be a technology expert to build some of those skills. Those skills are really important for, the world that we're heading into. No matter which field you pick. It can be, like you said, it could be welding or, things that people traditionally, don't associate at all with, like technology. You need those skills everywhere. Right. And those are skills that makes us, successful in some sense.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So I'm kind of curious. One of the things that you've mentioned multiple times in what MindAntix offers and what they do is, teaching students various techniques. So can you give us an example or two of what some of those techniques look like?
Yes, absolutely. So, this, I guess the simplest ones would be that we start with is associative thinking, right? So it's the ability to combine ideas that are unrelated. And it's been found that, just being able to do that, you can actually sometimes get some really interesting solutions or ideas. And we teach students some of these techniques, and some of them are just fun games, right? Just to get the concept going. Sure. So an example is, like, we have a fun activity we do with kids. It's called the wacky inventions. Right. And the idea is that the students will, they'll work in a group, and they will maybe write down a simple name of an object on a piece of paper, and we'll shuffle the papers, and then they have to pick two out of those papers and those objects and try to combine them and make an interesting wacky invention. And then they have to go to a commercial and stuff. When I did this recently, there was a group that did, they got like a football and a water bottle. And so they created an idea where they could have a football that you could, it's a football, but it's also a water bottle. So you can open the thing on one end, and you have water in there. You can play with it. And when you're thirsty, you can take open the lid, take a sip of it, and close it and start playing again. And the useful part is that, hey, now you don't have to carry two things when you go to the playground, right? It's just one thing. And so that's an example of a fun way to, like, combine two things that are unrelated and then be able to make something unique and interesting out of it. And that's an example of the associative thinking, right? And then so we have other techniques like, analogical thinking, some reverse thinking. So just, learning to challenge your assumptions, find an assumption, reverse it completely, and then suddenly we get some really interesting insights. So we teach them, like, different kinds of these kinds of cognitive techniques, and then they get to have a better sense of how do I, given a problem, how do I, like, even start thinking, and how do I come up with more interesting ideas? Yeah,
absolutely.
So do you find that it's funny, what I hear there is improvisation, and improvisation is a big part of creativity. Wouldn't you agree that really opens the door? Yeah,
absolutely. And in fact, the funny thing is, like, I coached my students on improv as well for a while. And I was doing this, and I was also doing my, the creativity, the cognitive creativity stuff. And then it took me a little bit of time, but then it suddenly struck me, like, a lot of the things that I'm trying to teach in cognitive creativity, improv is doing that. Like at the underlying level, if you actually look at some of the improv games, they're trying to build associative thinking. They're trying to build like some of the same kinds of skills that we're targeting. And if you look, there was actually, there's very interesting research that was done like a few years ago, and where this professor and his group, they brought in a bunch of improv comedians and professional product designers. And they actually had them brainstorm on product ideas. And it turns out that the improv comedian who had no experience with product design came up with more ideas and more original ideas than even the professional product designer. So you're absolutely right. Like an improv, it's building those same creative thinking skills. And you can see the results that they can actually solve problems in very interesting and better ways.
Yeah, it's funny how sometimes the folks who are in a particular profession, it doesn't really matter what profession it is, but if you're in a particular profession for a long enough time, you end up building blinders that you didn't even realize were there until someone who has nothing to do with your field comes in and shows you these kind of what they call these out of the box ways of thinking or coming up with ideas, and the other dude's like, holy cow, okay, yeah, I see. And sometimes what that really does is help that person get those blinders off that they didn't even realize were there. So that's very
right.
cool.
You're absolutely right. And I think sometimes just being able to look at your own stuff, and I think what we also try to do is have, when you're using some of these techniques, in some sense, when you use them regularly with yourself, with the work that you're doing, and you're experts in your areas, but using these techniques is sometimes really helpful in removing the blinders yourself without having somebody else come in and say, you learn to challenge your own assumptions or learn to look at a problem from a different perspective. And I think can be really useful no matter, which, what you're doing and how long you've been doing those things. It helps spur that creativity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that makes me think, so where in the process have you noticed that the students and the teachers start to realize that they have a choice about their learning process, about what they like to do and how that changes? Do they get that right off the bat? I know you push that right off the bat, like, let's help you find your space, your zone to work in. Do you see that happen pretty quickly? I know it's at different levels, but it probably happens when you're definitely giving them the opportunity to do it. You probably see it even quicker.
It's a very good question. It does happen, but I think it's, at least in my experience, it happens at different rates with different students. Like some students are more shy, or shy may not be the right word. I think they just may be a little bit more risk averse, right? So they're less willing to take or try new things or suggest ideas for which they can't really evaluate. So they don't have a sense whether it's a good idea or not, how their peers are going to take it. Which is why the building the community is really important, right? So if there's a safe environment and students are seeing other students share ideas and examples, it motivates the others to start proposing ideas, and they might start with safer ideas first. But I think over time, you do see a shift, and I can't point out if there's a real one point in there or not. But I think just trying different things, learning from others, seeing what other people are doing, just kind of over time builds that element in there.
I think one of the things that kind of ties into, especially like you said, students who are risk adverse and or students who they are the students who they want the concrete right, wrong. If I'm doing this wrong, then how do I make it right? And, it sounds like there's not a lot of that going on with the MindAntix, scenarios that are presented to the students. It's not right or wrong. There are different approaches, and some might be better than others, but not necessarily right or wrong. And that, I wonder, I would love to maybe, talk with some students who've been through this and see how frustrating that was for them at first, and then to kind of see if they were able to kind of, as we had mentioned before, kind of take down their own blinders or their own restrictions. I don't know, that'd be an interesting take on things. And I don't know, you may already have some of that through some of the research, through the data that you've collected.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen students go from being extremely, holding back. They're very, very uncomfortable with this whole concept of I don't know whether this is a good idea or not idea. Should I say it? Will I look stupid if I say it in front of my friends? And so being very, very, risk averse in some sense, right? And over time, actually flipping over and participating actively into activities and proposing ideas. So I've definitely seen examples of students go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And I think that can be really powerful for them, right? It's a great learning experience.
So I would guess, our current education model we've been working off of for decades, it does not lend itself to that. It does not lend itself to a teacher even making those choices. There's so many curriculum guides and standards out there that I bet that it's a big shift. Depending on how young you get the student also. So, if they've been part of the process for so long, it's hard to go, wait, I'm supposed to not make up my own minds about this. Someone is going to tell me what to learn. So what do you guys provide along the lines of helping teachers get used to that? Modules and workshops and things like that. Do you guys provide that kind of help for them?
Yeah, so we do professional development for teachers. We give them a lot of support in that sense, so they understand what creativity is and how to nurture that, how to even identify creativity. We give them lots of activities. So we've had teachers take some of the short. So we have sort of two kinds of content. There's like the short brain teaser type of stuff, which is all about learning a specific technique, like we talked about the associative thinking. And so you could almost do them standalone every now and then and run some of these activities. And we've had teachers come and say, hey, I've been trying this game or this activity and it's going really well. And then we also give them project-based learning modules. And the idea is that that's where the students, they've learned the techniques through brain teasers and now they're going to apply them in real-world examples and problem solve. And we give them a lot of the structure, like here's how you want to structure that. But they also have a lot of autonomy, right? So they can go ahead and change or modify things. They can tie it to things that they're already doing in the classroom. So there are lots of avenues for them to sort of adapt or use as is, whatever makes most sense for them. And I think, yes, you're right. I mean, our educational system so far has sort of been focused more on learning sort of concrete domain knowledge kind of things, but not as much as encouraging creativity. But I do see a shift. I do see that teachers are getting more interested in trying different kinds of approaches or project-based learning. And I think those are all great. I mean, we do find a lot of teachers who are interested in this and are willing to explore, willing to try new things and start building that creativity back.
So I'm curious, when you are, you've got your system, you got your platform. I'm assuming you're collecting and analyzing mounds and mounds of data. So how do you measure success with the various students and teachers that are, using MindAntix? How do you measure that?
So we have on our platform, we do allow teachers to rate, evaluate the student responses, and we teach them about the Guilford metrics, and that's what we're using right now. But we also go beyond that a little bit, and so we, in the end, teachers can make their own assessment of whether this is a unique enough idea or is it useful, is it unique, because the Guilford metrics don't always apply in all scenarios. And there's a lot of teacher feedback as well, right? So where teachers can tell us, okay, we can measure certain kinds of things or we can actually collect data on certain kinds of things, but not all, right? So there's a lot of subjective thing that happens, the confidence or the community building. So those are all more teachers giving us feedback and saying, hey, this is going well, or this is the stuff that students are finding hard to do. But yeah, I mean, we can understand and evaluate certain aspects of creativity, but not all.
Right, sure.
So if our listeners want to get in touch with you and pick your brain and find out more about MindAntix, what's the best way they can get in touch with you?
Well, thank you for asking that. Yeah, so they can definitely go to our website. It's www.mindantix.com. They can reach out, send email, hello@mindantix.com. Follow us on Twitter at MindAntix, and my personal, it's Pronita M. And then I also write a monthly article on EdCircuit, where I usually talk about certain creativity tools or tips and techniques and ideas, so that they can always learn from there. But yeah, I mean, if they're curious about trying creativity in the classroom, or just even curious about what creativity is, they're more than welcome to reach out to us and be happy to chat with them and help them get started in that journey.
Awesome.
That is great.
Well, it's really awesome what you guys have. It's very, very intriguing, and it's very nice to see something like this coming about for 21st century learning. It's really awesome. And we want to thank you for coming on for your first podcast on our show.
All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was such a pleasure to have you.
Hi there, I'm April Jackson, and this is your East Update. This week, we hear from East students at North Little Rock High School and their take on why everyone should have East and how awesome it is.
East is, in my words, absolutely fantastical.
If you get East at your school, it's just a way to make students happier. Because it honestly, I go to East every day. Like, I make time to go to East just because it's like a little happy place, you know? I get to work on what I want.
I feel like the question, instead of being why do you have East, should be like why don't you have East?
Yes.
Because it's a program that literally every school could benefit off of, because there have always been these conversations in our school as to what needs to be done and how we should do it, but nothing ever happened. But the second that you give students the opportunity to make these things happen, not only in our school, but in our community, things start happening. Because I know as students, we can be really stubborn and we don't like being told no. And when you give students this experience that we get from East, the ability to talk to people, the ability to write emails, and the ability to just handle yourself in such a professional way, people stop saying no. It's more of a go for it. Because when you're approached by a high school student or an elementary school student or a middle school student, and they have this incredible idea and they know how they want to do it, you're just like, wow, why can't I do that? Or why didn't I think of that? Because we're just so diligent in what we want to do and just so go for it. And especially the elementary school students, the students that were here today, they are more like, I'm gonna do it. They don't think about all the negative aspects of it or why they can't. They're just like,
I'm gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it, and you're not gonna have anything to say about it. And that's something that East allows us to do. It gives us the technology. It gives us the opportunities to do that. And I think that's one of the many reasons why East is amazing.
If you're interested in learning more about East and how to get it established at your school, follow us on social media at The East Initiative or visit our website at eastinitiative.org. I am April Jackson, and this has been your East Update.
Hey, thank you so much to April Jackson and the folks over at the East Initiative for providing the update this week for the show.
Yep, they always send us some great stuff, and we thank them tremendously from the bottom of our hearts.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much to Pronita for spending time with us and allowing us to be her first podcast ever.
That's really nice. And MindAntix is really cool stuff. You know how I am about creativity, and that fills that gaping hole in STEAM.
Yes, yes, it does.
The one that's between the E and the
M.
And the M.
The A, the gaping A-hole.
So, the arts. It's like steam escaping.
I wondered what you were doing. I got it now. I'm slow.
Did you get it?
Hi, I'm Dave. I'm slow.
So we put the banner at the end of the show today because we had read some stuff, I did anyway, about, people didn't like banner because it took away from the interview. So if you're still hanging on, you're hearing some
God
banter.
Bless you.
Hey, listen, it's been a great show. You can find us on the interwebs, www.edutechguys.com. Find us on all the social medias, just at EduTechGuys. We're out there in the tweeters and the Instagrams and all that kind of good stuff. So please reach out to us.
Instagrams. I'm pretty sure that's the thing. That's probably a service.
That's in Russia.
Yes.
Goes along with the Insta brides.
Yes, that's right.
Hey, I'm Jeff Madlock.
Oh, I'm David Henderson.
We'll catch you next time. We hope.
You've been listening to the EduTech Guys. EduTechGuys.com.